Are you not getting any stronger despite consistently doing your strength training? If so, there's one giant reason why this is likely happening. On this week's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, it's exactly what we're discussing. We're going to cue our introduction and dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Muscle Activation Schaumburg. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
And today we are discussing strength training and why you may not be getting stronger with your strength training despite doing it consistently. But we want to let you know that if what we are talking about today is resonating with you and you are looking for ways to help your body get stronger, that is our specialty here at Muscle Activation Schaumburg, using muscle activation techniques. So if you'd like to experience muscle activation techniques for yourself, all you have to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to our website, www.matschaumburg.com. Click the big green button that says Get Started and schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. So, Julie, we want to talk about this idea of getting stronger. And, you know, a lot of times we talk about strength training and different ways to make sure you stay safe with your strength training. All that is fine and well, but if you're missing one giant piece of the puzzle, you can be doing all the strength training stuff. You can be following along exactly as we tell you to, but you're still not going to get these strength increases, these strength results that you're wanting because you're missing this one piece. And this is something that we see happen with so many people, especially as they get older. Not so much, you know, in high school and in their 20s, but definitely by their mid-30s and beyond, people's mindset starts to shift a lot. And because of that, they end up neglecting this one piece of the results puzzle, which, when it comes to strength training, is building your strength. And so we want to bring this to your attention today and encourage you to make sure you're adding this one piece back in.
That's right. I think a lot of us are going along. You're either exercising or you're not. And by your mid-30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, at some point, you start feeling that like, oh, I'm getting old feeling. Oh, my workouts or my not workouts aren't really feeling that good for me. And so when we look at this, the first thing that we've talked about so many times on this podcast is you have to be applying the 4 Exercise for Life principles. That's not the mystery we're talking about today. But if you're new here, that's going to be your first step. Make sure that the how of your exercise is on point. So the 4 Exercise for Life principles are designed to make sure that your exercise keeps you really safe. It's also going to minimize the negative side effects of exercise. Things like feeling achy and sore and beat up and like your muscles are feeling not so good afterwards, after your exercise bout. So let's recap the 4 Exercise for Life principles first, especially if you're new here. And if you want to hear more about these, you can jump back to some of our previous podcasts. But Exercise for Life principle number 1 is going to be respect your pain-free, symptom-free, full range of motion, and use this full range of motion. So whenever you're weight training, you want to use your full range of motion, but stay in the range that you are pain-free, symptom-free, stretch-free. That's going to be your first step.
Absolutely. This is critical to make sure that, again, like you were saying, Julie, that you stay safe with your workouts, that, you know, you're not getting achy, sore, injured from your workouts, so you're able to return consistently to your workouts, which is a huge piece of the puzzle of how do you get results from your workouts. The second Exercise for Life principle is to control the parts of your body that are moving and the parts of your body that are not moving, okay? Decide before you exercise, before you do an exercise, what parts of your body you're going to move, what parts of your body you're going to keep still, and then adhere to that the entire time you're doing the exercise. In other words, fight every urge that you have to try to compensate, to try to quote unquote cheat by moving other areas of your body just to get the weight moving up and down. Resist that urge. Keep the parts of your body still that you want to stay still. Only move the parts of your body that you want to move.
Step number 3 is going to be move slowly. We always tell people you're probably and should be the slowest person in the gym. The slower you move, the more that you're going to be able to maintain step 1, which is, again, stay in your full pain-free, symptom-free range of motion. And step 2, which is going to be maintain your moving and non-moving parts. So make sure you're moving really, really slowly. And this directly leads us right into step number 4.
Yes, Exercise for Life principle number 4 is to focus on squeezing your muscles while you are doing each exercise. Don't focus on the weight going up and down. Don't focus on the number of reps you've done or the number of reps you have left. Don't focus on your music and getting into the flow and everything like that. Keep your focus on squeezing your muscles. Not only will this help you stay safe while you're exercising, by keeping your focus within your body, it will actually help you to get better results from a strength building and muscle building perspective, because simply by focusing on the muscles that you're trying to work, you're going to start sending more signal to those muscles, which is a huge piece of the puzzle of getting the results that you're wanting to get from your workouts. But these 4 exercise for life principles are key. They are paramount to making sure you stay safe, maximizing your opportunity to get results from your exercise, but they are not the entire puzzle when it comes to getting results from your exercise, okay? So yes, we need to make sure they're able to do our exercise. We need to make sure we are able to return to our exercise, repeat our exercise, which the 4 exercise for life principles help us to do. But there's one giant piece of this puzzle from a results perspective that's missing. And this is what so many people leave out from their workouts.
That's right. This missing puzzle piece is you have to be challenged. For your body to get stronger, you have to do things that are very difficult for your body. So the 4 exercise for life principles are so incredibly important to master, because for a lot of people, once they start applying these 4 principles, it's the first time they've been able to regularly exercise day after day, week after week for years and feel good and feel like, oh my gosh, my joints aren't flared up. Wow, my knee issue has resolved because my strength has gone up. But there's going to be limits to your strength if you're not adding challenge. In fact, to get the most out of your workouts, you should be trying to challenge yourself, meaning add weight, add resistance, the most that you possibly can without breaking the 4 exercise for life principles. The 4 exercise for life principles are geared so that you can work smart and hard. We're not exchanging the two. We know your exercise has to be challenging within these parameters, and that's how you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck.
Exactly. And so here's what most people fall prey to, is they hear this and they're like, well, yeah, but I am challenging myself. I mean, like, I lift the weights and, the weight, I can feel like my muscles working, and, I'm definitely fatigued by the end of my workout. And while we can definitely understand why that perception of like, yeah, I am challenging myself is there, because you definitely feel your muscles working, all right? You feel like, you might even feel like a little bit sore after your workouts, or like, oh yeah, like, I definitely feel like I worked my body. What you are physically capable of doing and what your brain is telling you you are physically capable of doing are 2 wildly different things, okay? And what we need to be able to break through, if you feel like your strength is stalling, if you feel like you are not progressing with your strength, if you're making gains with your strength and you're pleased with the way it's going, awesome, keep doing what you're doing. We're not talking to you. We're talking to the people that are like, but I'm doing my strength training, I'm not getting any stronger, and I'm still following the 4 exercise for life principles and everything like that. And then it's likely because you're actually not challenging your body as much as your body can be challenged. You are challenging your body to the point that your brain says, ooh, I'm challenged enough. Ooh, you know what, this is as much weight as I've done before. I should not go any heavier because I might hurt myself. I might, be achy and sore after. Ooh, there's too much risk if I add more weight. And these, not only these stories that we tell ourselves, but the perceptions that we have about how much we are challenging ourselves and how heavy we are lifting, everything like that, likely are a huge reason why your strength is stalling, while your strength is not progressing.
That's right. I think our brains are really designed to really protect us, not to maximize us, right? And so there's another thing, is that most of us have probably come across this content because some part of your exercise hasn't felt that good. And so we have labeled different things as, this is injurious to your body. For example, when you do the lunges, it's going to hurt your knees. It's not good for your knees. If you do crunches, it's going to make your discs get slippery or slide out or flare up your bulging discs, right? So we've labeled these things as, we don't want to do this, and especially we don't want to challenge this. Now, most of the time, these stories have come from exercising prior to you applying the 4 exercise for life principles. So remember, now we're applying weight and challenge to a safety parameter, right? Like, we have guidelines here. So for us to be getting these gains, we also have to reteach our bodies, like, hey, we can do this. Like, hey, and I see this all the time because I'm taking notes when my clients are training, and whatever is hard, even if it's honestly 50 pounds lighter than I know what they can do because we've done it before, it still feels hard. Like in our brains, it's processing as this is difficult. And it's okay for it to be processed as difficult, but if you are still maintaining all 4 steps of your exercise for life principles and you can still add weight, then you should be adding weight to that, right? So making sure that you are going off of not only the feel of it, of course we want you in tune with your body, but not only going off of feel, but also noting, okay, wow, my form is great. I'm doing step 1 through 4 perfectly. Can I try extra weight? Great. If you put it on, you can't do it, just take it right back off. But I think it's always important to be testing those upper limits because sometimes our brain kind of lies to us. Like difficult seems maximal to a lot of people. And so breaking through that, like, hey, I've rehearsed and practiced doing difficult things. I can do difficult things. And so just regularly getting that into your routine, not going lighter and lighter, but keep on trying to say, hey, could I do a little more? Could I try a little more? Could I put like a little thing on the weight stack or grab the heavier weight for this exercise? Because the worst thing that can happen, especially if you have all 4 exercise for life principles pinned down, is that you try one and you can't do it, so you put it down and grab the weight you were using before. But it's always good to be testing that upper limit.
Exactly. And I think one thing that throws a lot of people off is there is the unspoken assumption that as you get stronger, the weights that you were using feel lighter on your body. And they don't. They feel the same amount of heavy on your body, but your muscles can still do them. Okay, so here's an example. When I was in my mid-20s, it was very, very easy for me to squat well over 400 pounds. There was not a problem at all, okay? But the weight on my back felt heavy starting around 225 pounds. And then every incremental weight up from that still felt heavy on my body, even though, I could squat, double that, right? And so the challenge was like half of what my muscles could do, even though on my body, it felt heavy. And so what we see a lot is when people are like first pick up a weight and they're like, this feels heavy. It's like, okay, well, it's always going to feel some kind of heavy on your body. But what happens is your brain, instead of feeling that heavy and in saying, oh, well, this is heavy, therefore I'm at higher risk for injury, you say, okay, well, this is heavy and I know that I can still do it. Mm-hmm. This feels heavy and I know that my muscles will still protect me. This feels heavy and I know that I can still do this exercise with this much weight. But you never get to that place where you're teaching your brain those things to interpret those signals that way, unless, like you're saying, Julie, you're continuously, incrementally increasing the challenge. If you just stop at the point where it feels heavy, for your body, but not necessarily like completely challenging for your muscles, then you're always going to be capped at that level. And so you have to move past that point of like, okay, it feels heavy and I can still do it. And once you can get to that level, then all of a sudden you can start making some significant changes and improvements with your strength.
That's right. So what is the big picture of this? If you're listening to this, like, do I really need to lift heavy? I mean, I'm feeling good with my workouts. Well, this is what it really comes down to, is that you're going to come across an age or a length of time. I guess I use age, but I really mean to say a length of time. A length of time since visiting your upper maximal intensity of weight. And at some point, your ability to handle weight is going to start coming down and down and down unless you're practicing it, right? So a lot of us operate daily life at some level that is well below our capabilities, meaning like your grocery shopping, your weight training, your cardio is all well below your maximal, right? And so all that time, your maximal level is coming down because we're not regularly visiting the maximal level. And at some point, your life, the things that you're doing, your weight training, your grocery shopping, your picking up your grandkids, becomes very similar to your maximal level. And that's when people start saying, I'm just getting old. Oh, I can't get on the floor. Oh, I can't, I might throw out my back if I bend over and pick up, my grandbaby or whatever it is. And so we're saying, hey, when you're in the gym, AKA a very controlled environment, when you're using the exercise for life principles, you're controlling the environment. Let's practice your upper limit or close to it. Let's make it very different than your walk. Walking is great, but weight training is different. We're trying to push that upper level or regularly visit it so that your body doesn't lose it. I think a lot of times, that idea of like, if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. So true. And we think about that a lot of times with mobility. Like if I don't regularly practice my motions, I'm gonna lose my motions. If you don't regularly practice your strength, especially your upper levels of strength, you will lose it. And so when you spend enough time away from those upper levels of strength, your body just starts losing it, because upper levels of strength, big power, big muscle focus, is expensive for your body. And so your body doesn't want to keep that unless it has to. And so while you're learning how to keep your exercise really safe with the Exercise for Life principles, we really, really encourage you. You got to be challenging your weights. You got to be testing new things. As long as you're staying within those parameters and your body's not telling you otherwise in terms of signals of pain or soreness the following day, you should regularly be practicing that upper limit to see if you can't match it or keep pushing it upwards, because we want to keep it as high as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah, this is where working out with other people, whether it's with a trainer or just being around other people that are a little bit ahead of you, can really come in handy. I mean, Julie, I know that you had a client recently, and that was like, oh, I was doing like 15s for shoulder press, and then I saw somebody do 20s, and I'm like, oh, I should be able to do that. And then just picked it up and was like, oh, I can do that. But she had never explored it before because of whatever beliefs she had in her mind of like, well, this is the most weight that I'm able or allowed to use or whatever without hurting myself.
Yeah. Oh, she literally went from 8 pounds.
8 pounds, okay.
8 pounds to 25 pounds.
Wow, okay. You mean
in one session.
Yeah, much bigger jump, yeah.
She found out that her 70-year-old aunt was pressing 25s overhead, and I said, yeah, I actually also do 20, or I've been practicing trying to get to 25s. And she was like, what? And so she has a little competitive edge to her, but she always worked out by herself, right? And so she picked up the 20s, we queued through it, and she did them. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. So sometimes just that reference and realizing that your perception of hard is not actually what you could be doing as hard. Exactly.
And that being able to bridge that gap between what you're perceiving as hard and what your body actually needs from a challenge hard perspective, being able to bridge that gap is one of the keys to making sure that you are not only able to maintain your strength, but continue to progress your strength year after year after year after year. Because like you were saying, Julie, the sooner that idea gets in your head of like, oh, well, this is my uppermost limit, this is, as far as I can go, this is the most that I can do, the sooner we start to see people's strength stall and then eventually decline. And it fits with the narrative, it fits with the story that we see all around us, the socially acceptable idea that as you get older, you're supposed to become weaker, you're supposed to become less capable, you're supposed to become more frail. Like that is the standard, the norm. And what usually it happens much, much, much sooner than people becoming weaker, less capable, more frail, is that story in their head of, well, this is the most that I should do, this is the most that I can do, and so this is all that I will do. And so as much as you can, fight that story. As much as you can, continuously question, all right, is this actually as much as I can do? Like, I know it feels heavy. Yeah, it's going to feel heavy, but does that mean that I can't do it? And those are two different things. Feeling heavy and not being able to do it. Because if you can lean into the feeling heavy and say, yeah, but I can still do this. It's heavy, but I can do it anyways. The more you can do that, the more consistently you can do that, the more consistent gains and improvements in your strength you will see, and the longer you'll be able to keep those. So, one thing that we do here at Muscle Activation Schaumburg that is really helpful for people with their strength is muscle activation techniques. And the reason why this is so important is because when you go and work out, your body's only using the muscles that are already working well. And with MAT, we're able to figure out which muscles aren't working well and get them working better. And why this is so important is because then when you go and work out, and you can say, yeah, like it feels heavy, but I'm able to do it anyways, you have more muscles helping you to do that. And we see that people are able to make much faster gains in their strength and maintain their strength for much longer periods of time when they are doing muscle activation techniques in addition to their strength training. So if you'd like to experience muscle activation techniques for yourself, like I said, that is our specialty here at Muscle Activation Schaumburg. All you have to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to www.matschaumburg.com. On our website, there's a big green button you can click that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is consistently doing their strength training day in and day out, week after week, but feels like their strength isn't progressing? It's stalling, or it may even be going downhill. Share this episode with them so they can understand one giant thing that may be holding them back from really making the progress with their strength that they are wanting to make. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to us and leave us a rating and review. Not only does it help people find our podcast when they're looking for information on exercise, it also helps them find our podcast when they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us a 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.